So I was watching one of Nathan's videos from Duck River Honey, and I couldn't help but laugh because he was doing his Ian Stepler impersonation. So here's mine. So little Bailey's and coffee this morning. You know, as I walk down to the wood shop, see what's going on today, and oops, I'm already at the wood shop. Maybe I'll have to walk back and forth a few times. So what are we working on today? We're still in the wood shop, putting pallets together. And like so much of, beekeeping and woodworking, it's a lot of repetition. So put one pallet together, put another pallet together, followed by another one, and another one, and another one. Oh, and when you get the pallets done, then you're on the boxes and the frames. Okay, this isn't working. Let's just get in the wood shop. Okay, so wood shop. What are we working on? As I said, we're doing the pallets. So I was fortunate enough to have Alan over. As you can see, we've got all of our plywood chopped up. We've got all of the slats, the spacers down in the bottom. We've got all the runners. We've got all of our boards cut and mitered out, ready to go on the pallets. We got all of our cross pieces. We got all of our back pieces. And Brad had sent me a little bit of a heads up. So one of the things that he came up with was on the back of the pallet. Here, actually, here's a pallet that we did yesterday. Let me bring this up on the, actually I'll put it down on the floor. So one of the things that he did, this is a standard pallet, but last year we only had a 1-inch piece on the back. So when you put your hive box on there and you lift it up to take a look, what would happen is the hive would slip off of the bottom. So he says, you know what? He said he was thinking, and he's changed this now. So now instead of a 3/4 inch piece at the back, we now got an 1.5 inch piece at the back. So a little bit more support when we can do it. But pallets are coming along quite nicely. The other thing I did is last year I used a router to kind of take this corner off so that they would slide together. This year I just did it all on the table saw. And I think I'm gonna go back to the router because my old Rockwell Delta table saw, in doing that, of course, you had the blade goes on a 45-degree angle, so that belt has to make that 45-degree twist. And we ended up burning up the belt in doing that, so it didn't fare so well. So I think next time I do it, I think I'll go back and I'll use the router. The router just is, it's quick, it's easy. I kind of thought maybe that would save a little bit of time, you know, taking that corner off. And it did. I think it was quicker than the router, but yeah, I burnt up a I don't know, $15 or $18 belt or whatever the heck they are. I haven't bought one for quite some time. Wasn't the end of the world. I carry spares with me in the shop here all the time, so I've always got spare belts. I've always got spare blades, just part and parcel of when I lived out on the farm. You always had to have parts and pieces around because you didn't want to run to town all the time. So I think Alan's coming over again today. Our goal is to get this pile of stuff that we got cut up all done up, and I will show you what we did. So I'm just going to put the camera down and then I'll explain. We made a jig up for doing all these things, and anybody who's ever done woodworking, or actually any work, manufacturing, I guess that's the word I was looking for. Any manufacturing at all. If you got a jig, everything just goes so much quicker. And what I found is by making this jig up, it probably cut the build time down in half. So I'm happy that we took the time yesterday to do this. But let me get my coat off. Let me get the heat turned up, and I'll put a pallet or two together, and I'll show you how quick and easy it is. Okay, so as I was saying earlier, if you're going to be making multiples of anything, you know, jigs always work. So I basically, well, actually I shouldn't say Alan and I made this jig yesterday. So it's just out of scrap that we had laying around. So we put a back on it just to kind of protect my tool board, of which I still haven't got done. And I got to get that done. So it'll basically push right back. And then what we did is, as we go through, and I'll build one here really quickly because, you know, just to show you how it works. Now, these pallets are all for myself. I don't build and sell any pallets. That's kind of the agreement that Brad and I have. So when Brad was gracious enough to share his pallet design and his dimensions and everything with me, of which I greatly appreciate, because it's such a, I can't say enough about the system. It just, everything locks together and everything works. But these are all for me. So they're not as close as tolerance as it would be if I was selling a product to somebody, but they're still pretty darn close. So let's get started. So the first thing we're gonna need is we're gonna need our runners. So I have them all pre-cut. And we put those in all the way to the back. Using PL Premium. As everybody knows, I like to glue everything. We can now slap our plywood on it right to the back. Drop it down in place. And screw it in place. Now, I have a few different size screws here. I got to run down to the hardware store, pick some more up. Right now, I am using a decking screw, and they are a number 8 screw by 1.5 inches. So 3/4 inch plywood, 3/4 inch boards, and I have some other ones that are 2 inches. So I kind of have a mix of both. So general rule of thumb that I usually like to do is, if I'm going through a 3/4 inch piece of material, I like to have it going into the material by at least 3/4 of an inch as well. So, you know, I would recommend nothing shorter than 1.5 inches. Oops. And this squares everything up quite quickly and very nicely. I really got to get a new bit. I'll do that today when I go pick up more screws. And I've got it marked at the back where my center 2x4 sits, so that I don't have to guess. Now the other thing too is, when you're putting those screws in, think of where your clip's going to go. So I know at the back I have 1.5 inches, so the clip is going to go, you know, actually it'll go this way. Sit right about there, so about 2 inches in from each end. So I don't want to put my screw underneath where the screws in the bottom of the clip are going to go. that's it. The glue's gonna hold it. Now, why did I only put 3 screws in? Let me show you. So the next thing we gotta do is put our runner boards on. So they're gonna consist of, this is the 3/4 inch piece that I said we used to put at the back. It's now 1.5 inches, so it's gonna go all the way across. And because everything's tight at the back, I can literally drop that in place. So I'm using 2-inch staples. And you notice I didn't staple here. I'll show you why. And then we have our 2 for the ends. Now these staples are long enough that they're going to go down through the plywood, or through the board, through the plywood, into the 2x4. That's kind of key. Now I've also made a couple of jigs that will fit right in here, so I know exactly where this center board goes. And once again, keeping in mind I have 2 screws in each one, so I can put 1 in the center at each end, and then all the way down the center. Now these boards, you see, they fit in there just about perfectly on center. And then I've got another one that I built for this centerpiece in the front, so I know exactly where it goes. Now I go over to 1.25 inch staples, because this and these edges are only going through this 3/4 inch piece plus the 3/4 inch plywood. Oops. That pallet is done with the exception of a couple holes. And the reason I drill these holes is when I wax dip these boxes now, the wax is going to get inside that hole, and it's just going to help preserve it a little bit more right around where that screw is going to go in. I can flip it over. Everybody's seen this jig from last year. So that they lock in, they got to come in far enough so that they hit that top cleat. Top cleats are going to go on like so. Flip them over and they get PL'd as well. that's it. Pallet is done. I'm going to fix this one staple though. That's when I kind of got carried away on this. So I'll pull that out, put another one in. Other than that, we're finished.